Welcome to Noonzzz. Here, sleep doesn't come from silence, but from a gentle story. You don't have to fall asleep just yet. Just stay a little longer. Everything will feel lighter soon. You never wake up at 3:33. That hour doesn't belong to the living. It's the hush between thoughts, the silence between seconds, the place where clocks pause and time forgets its name. But tonight, you do. You're not sure what stirs you. Maybe it's the air too still, too thick, or maybe it's the sound, a low, deliberate ticking, not from your watch, your phone, or the microwave, but from something much older, something with weight. You sit up slowly. Your apartment is wrapped in the silver hush of early morning, the kind of quiet that presses against your ears and makes even your heartbeat feel intrusive. You glance at your bedside clock. The screen is blank, dead. You reach for your phone. Nothing, just darkness. That's when you hear it again. Tick, 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 dot. It's coming from the hallway. You slip out of bed, barefoot, padding across the wooden floor. The ticking grows louder with every step, not frenzied, not frantic, just impossibly calm. And there it is. The old clock. The one that hasn't worked in years. The one that belonged to your grandfather. It hangs where you placed it years ago. More for nostalgia than need. A tall, narrow, wooden thing, carved with ivy and stars. Its brass hands have been stuck at 12:07 since you moved in. You never bothered fixing it. You liked the idea of a clock that didn't obey time. But now, it's ticking. And worse, it's moving backward. The second hand jolts with each motion. The minute hand slips from 3:34 to 3:33. You take a step back, and the air shifts, not in temperature, but in texture, as if the molecules around you remember something you don't. The hallway dims slightly, the shadows curling upward instead of down. You glance outside the window. The street below is frozen. The tree outside your building doesn't sway. The distant headlights from a car are suspended in motion, mid-glow. A cat on the opposite rooftop is stuck mid-lap, body arched like a sculpture. Time has stopped, except for you and the clock. You lean closer. The ticking becomes almost musical, like a lullaby played in reverse. Then, just below the base of the frame, something moves. Click. A narrow compartment opens where none should exist. Inside, velvet lining, and resting at its center, a key, silver, ornate, familiar. You don't remember ever seeing it before, and yet your fingers wrap around it without hesitation. There's a folded note tucked beneath. You unfold it with trembling hands. When the clock returns to 3:33, the window reopens. Do not delay. The girl cannot wait again. The handwriting is unmistakable. Your grandfather, dead 5 years. You close your eyes, trying to slow your breath. He used to speak in riddles, in bedtime tales laced with nonsense. But you remember, now he once told you stories about pockets in time, about folded hours hidden between the regular ones. Back then, you thought they were just that, stories. But here it is, 3:33, and the hour isn't passing. You glance back toward the clock, but it's gone. No, not gone. Different. The walls around you ripple like water. The hallway stretches, widens. The floorboards beneath your feet shift in tone, darker, older. The air carries a scent you haven't known in years. Cedar wood, smoke, and lemon soap. You're not in your apartment anymore. The hallway opens into a room, not unfamiliar. You know this wallpaper, that shade of faded yellow, those hand-painted vines, the rug with the coffee stain shaped like a fox, the door to the left that always sticks. This is your grandfather's house, but he died. The house was sold, torn down, maybe. You haven't been here in a decade. You should be afraid, but you're not. Something gentle is pulling you forward. You cross the room in bare feet. The wood beneath you sighs like it remembers your weight. And then you see her, a girl sitting in front of the hearth, her knees pulled to her chest, a stuffed fox in her lap, hair in loose braids, bare toes tapping the rug. She's humming under her breath, and you recognize the tune. You used to hum it too. She doesn't see you, but you know her. You knew her before mirrors, before memories had names, because she is you, and this is the hour. You weren't supposed to remember. The girl watches you without blinking, not with fear, not even surprise, just a quiet knowing, like she'd been expecting you to walk through that door for years. You stand frozen in the doorway, one hand still hovering near the frame, as if stepping too far in might disturb the delicate illusion. But this isn't an illusion. You feel the warmth of the hearth, the roughness of the rug under your bare feet, and the undeniable tug in your chest. She is you, a younger version, no more than 8 or 9. Her braids are uneven, her stuffed fox is worn, but her eyes, your eyes, are sharp, alert, and tired in a way no child's should be. How long have you been here? You ask. She doesn't answer at first. Instead, she pats the floor beside her. You hesitate only a second before sitting down. It's always 3:33, she says. It never moves unless someone remembers. You frown. Remembers what? She shrugs me. You look around the room again. It's exactly like you remember your grandfather's sitting room, down to the faint scratch on the window pane, the chipped paint on the far wall, the threadbare patch on the rug near the fire. But it's not just a copy. This is the room, preserved, alive, trapped, and so is she. I don't understand, you say. Why are you here? Because no one came back for me, she says simply. Her words hit like ice water. You want to protest, to tell her that of course you would have come back, that you never forgot her, but the truth is harder to face. You did forget, or at least you buried her deep enough that remembering felt like loss. She pulls a small wooden box from behind her. Inside, not toys or trinkets, but watch parts. Tiny gears, broken springs, glass faces. Grandpa left these for me, she says. He said I'd know what to do when the time came, but I never did. You pick up a tiny cog. It's heavier than it looks. You study her closely. You've been here since the day he died, haven't you? She nods. Why didn't you leave? She looks at you, as if the answer should be obvious. Someone had to stay and keep the hour open. You stare at her. What hour? This one, she says. The one where he disappeared. The room feels colder suddenly. The fire cracks, but the warmth doesn't reach your skin. What do you mean, disappeared? She shifts, placing the wooden box between you. He never died. Not really. Not in the way they said. He stepped out of time, voluntarily. Your breath catches. He told me to wait, she continues, said he'd left something behind. Something important. But no one ever came back to find it. And what is it? She looks at you evenly. You, the word lands like thunder. Not because you understand it fully, but because part of you does. He left clues, she says. In the clock, in your dreams. But you stopped listening. I thought I was going mad, you admit. You were forgetting, she corrects. Forgetting the truth. You look down at the box. Each piece of the watch feels symbolic now. Not just broken time, but broken memory. You pick up a shard of glass. How do I fix this? You don't fix it, she says. You build something new, but only if you remember why it broke. There's a pause. Then she opens her palm. In it. A key. Silver. Ornate. Shaped like the hour hand of a clock. He said only you could unlock it, she says. The rest is behind the door. What door? She nods toward the fireplace. There, behind the flames, you see it, faint, but growing clearer, a small outline, like a hidden hatch etched into the stone. You rise slowly, heart racing. The flames don't burn, they shimmer. As you walk through them, they part like mist. You reach the stone panel and press your hand against it. The wall pulses once warm, alive, and the stone slides open. Behind it, darkness, and stairs, winding. Down you glance back at the girl. Will you come with me? She shakes her head. I can't leave until you find him. You want to ask more. You want to say you're not ready. But instead, you nod and step inside. The stone door seals behind you. The clock begins to tick again, and the hour finally moves forward. The stone door seals behind you with a muted click, soft, almost regretful, and darkness wraps around your shoulders like a thick velvet curtain. The air smells of iron and dust, with a faint undertone of lavender, the same scent your grandfather used to tuck into his coat. You take a step forward, then another. The spiral stairway groans beneath your weight, not in protest, but as if it hasn't felt footsteps in a very, very long time. You count the steps without meaning to. 7, 13, 21. Something about the numbers feels familiar, like echoes from a dream you never knew you remembered. The deeper you descend, the warmer it becomes. Not fire warm, but heartbeat warm, pulsing gently against your skin, like time breathing in reverse. At the bottom, you reach a small landing, and there, a door, not grand, not ornate, just old, thick wood, faded teal, a brass handle dulled by years. On the door, carved delicately into the center, is the outline of a clock face. No numbers, just 12 notches. And where the hour hand should be, there's a keyhole, shaped exactly like the ornate key you now hold. You slide it in, it fits. But you hesitate. Your grandfather had once told you, some doors open only when the heart behind them is ready to remember. You take a breath, turn the key. The door swings inward without a sound. What greets you isn't a room, but a workshop, a hidden sanctuary. The air shimmers faintly, like it's made of memory and steam. Dozens of clocks line the walls, cuckoo clocks, carriage clocks, even melted dolly-esque ones that seem to breathe softly as you pass. But none of them tick, none of them move. In the center of the room stands something stranger still, a chair, not just any chair, it's made of iron and brass, like a fusion between a throne and a time machine. Delicate gears line its arms. A network of tubing winds around the back like arteries, and above it, suspended from the ceiling like a chandelier, is a sphere of glass and copper, pulsing with a soft amber light. You approach it slowly. There's an inscription etched into the base. For memory is not a place, but a promise. A sound behind you makes you spin. It's not your younger self. It's him, your grandfather, or a hologram, a memory, a flickering outline of the man you once knew, tall, gentle-eyed, in the same patched vest and worn boots you remember. He smiles at you, warmly. "Hello, Starling," he says. Your throat tightens. You haven't heard that nickname since you were a child. "Is this real?" you ask. "It's memory," he says. "And memory is sometimes more honest than reality." You step closer. "Why did you leave?" he sighs, sitting down on the edge of a nearby workbench, though his image flickers slightly with the motion. "Because there were things I couldn't protect you from," he says. "But there were things I could preserve." He gestures toward the chair I built, the chronostone, he continues. A device that could extract, store, and protect moments, thoughts, feelings, the things too fragile for the world outside. "You stored me," you whisper. He nods. "You were hurting after your parents left. After everything, I saw you folding in on yourself, forgetting the sound of your own laughter. So I tucked away pieces of you in here, where time couldn't reach them." You glance at the humming sphere above the chair, all those slips of paper, the memories the girl showed me. "Fragments," he confirms, "of your truest self. Not the one the world taught you to be, but the one you were before it told you to shrink." You feel something hot behind your eyes. "Why now?" you ask. "Why bring me back?" "Because you're ready," he says softly, "to remember, to feel again, and to decide." Decide. He gestures again to the chair. "You can sit," he says, "and receive what you left behind. It won't all be beautiful. Some will hurt. Some may even change how you see yourself. You take a slow step toward it. And if I don't, then this place will wait," he says. "Another year, another decade. It waits as long as it must. But the longer you leave it, the more the parts of you inside grow." Silent, your fingers brush the metal, it's warm. You sit. The sphere overhead pulses once, and then lowers. A soft hum fills the air. Lights flicker. The room vibrates gently, as if sighing. Then the world blinks, and you fall, not down, but inward, into the first memory. The stone door seals behind you with a muted click, soft, almost regretful, and darkness wraps around your shoulders like a thick velvet curtain. The air smells of iron and dust, with a faint undertone of lavender, the same scent your grandfather used to tuck into his coat. You take a step forward, then another. The spiral stairway groans beneath your weight, not in protest, but as if it hasn't felt footsteps in a very, very long time. You count the steps without meaning to. 7, 13, 21, something. About the numbers feels familiar, like echoes from a dream you never knew you remembered. The deeper you descend, the warmer it becomes. Not fire warm, but heartbeat warm, pulsing gently against your skin, like time breathing in reverse. At the bottom, you reach a small landing, and there, a door. Not grand, not ornate, just old. Thick wood, faded teal, a brass handle dulled by years. On the door, carved delicately into the center, is the outline of a clock face. No numbers, just 12 notches. And where the hour hand should be, there's a keyhole, shaped exactly like the ornate key you now hold. You slide it in. It fits. But you hesitate. Your grandfather had once told you, some doors open only when the heart behind them is ready to remember. You take a breath. Turn the key. The door swings inward without a sound. What greets you isn't a room, but a workshop, a hidden sanctuary. The air shimmers faintly, like it's made of memory and steam. Dozens of clocks line the walls, cuckoo clocks, carriage clocks, even melted dolly-esque ones that seem to breathe softly as you pass. But none of them tick, none of them move. In the center of the room stands something stranger still, a chair, not just any chair, it's made of iron and brass, like a fusion between a throne and a time machine. Delicate gears line its arms. A network of tubing winds around the back like arteries, and above it, suspended from the ceiling like a chandelier, is a sphere of glass and copper, pulsing with a soft amber light. You approach it slowly. There's an inscription etched into the base. For memory is not a place, but a promise. A sound behind you makes you spin. It's not your younger self. It's him, your grandfather, or a hologram, a memory, a flickering outline of the man you once knew, tall, gentle-eyed, in the same patched vest and worn boots you remember. He smiles at you, warmly. "Hello, Starling," he says. Your throat tightens. You haven't heard that nickname since you were a child. "Is this real?" you ask. "It's memory," he says. "And memory is sometimes more honest than reality." You step closer. "Why did you leave?" he sighs, sitting down on the edge of a nearby workbench, though his image flickers slightly with the motion. "Because there were things I couldn't protect you from," he says. "But there were things I could preserve." He gestures toward the chair I built, the chronostone, he continues. A device that could extract, store, and protect moments, thoughts, feelings, the things too fragile for the world outside. "You stored me," you whisper. He nods. "You were hurting after your parents left. After everything, I saw you folding in on yourself, forgetting the sound of your own laughter. So I tucked away pieces of you in here, where time couldn't reach them." You glance at the humming sphere above the chair, all those slips of paper, the memories the girl showed me. "Fragments," he confirms, "of your truest self. Not the one the world taught you to be, but the one you were before it told you to shrink." You feel something hot behind your eyes. "Why now?" you ask. "Why bring me back?" "Because you're ready," he says softly, "to remember, to feel again, and to decide." Decide. He gestures again to the chair. "You can sit," he says, "and receive what you left behind. It won't all be beautiful. Some will hurt. Some may even change how you see yourself. You take a slow step toward it. And if I don't, then this place will wait," he says. "Another year, another decade. It waits as long as it must. But the longer you leave it, the more the parts of you inside grow." Silent, your fingers brush the metal, it's warm. You sit. The sphere overhead pulses once, and then lowers. A soft hum fills the air. Lights flicker. The room vibrates gently, as if sighing. Then the world blinks, and you fall, not down, but inward, into the first memory. The corridor shifts beneath your feet, but you don't falter. Not now. You've seen enough to understand that your memories were never erased at random. Each one was chosen, curated, trimmed like unwanted pages from a story someone else decided you shouldn't read. And now you are reading them anyway out loud, to yourself, to your soul. A low hum begins, almost like a heartbeat, steady and deep. It's coming from the end of the corridor, where a door you hadn't noticed before now pulses with a pale blue light. Unlike the shimmering memory panes behind you, this door is solid, real, wood grain, worn edges, brass handle dulled with age. Your hand hovers just above it, hesitation brushing your knuckles. Then you push. The door creaks open into darkness. Not A void, but the kind of darkness that listens. The air smells of old paper and dusted velvet. Familiar. You step inside. This room feels different. It doesn't flicker with past lives or echo with forgotten laughter. It waits. On the far side, a single object rests under a faded sheet, its outline unmistakable. Another chair, but not the one you sat in before. This one is older, carved with ornate vines and curling symbols etched into the arms. It hums faintly, like a clock still running. Beneath its surface, there's a letter on the seat. You pick it up. The handwriting is hurried, slanted, and you know it instantly, your father's. If you found this, then I failed to stay away. I told myself the silence was kindness, that forgetting me would save you from becoming what I feared I was. But time has its own rules, and I see now I never had the right to make that choice for you. This chair was built before you were born. I built it when your mother died. Not it body, no. She still breathed, still smiled, still walked into rooms like sunlight. But something inside her faded that day. She asked me to protect you. I thought erasing myself from your life was the answer. I see now it wasn't. If you sit here, you'll see the truth I tried to bury. But I must warn you, some memories are locked not by machines, but by fear. If you wish to stop here, I understand. But if you choose to remember, I will be waiting. Your hands tremble. Not because you're afraid of the truth, but because you're no longer afraid of carrying it. You lower yourself into the chair. The moment your spine touches the backrest, the room exhales. A gentle pressure forms behind your eyes, like warm water pressing at the edges of your mind. And then, the memory arrives. You're younger again. Maybe 4, too young to remember this consciously. But it floods back now with such vividness, it makes your breath catch. Your mother sits at the edge of the bed, cradling your head against her chest. She hums a melody with no words. Her fingers card through your hair, and her voice is tight. I'm sorry I'm not always here, she whispers, mostly to herself. Sometimes I leave even when I'm in the room. You didn't understand then, but she did. She knew something was wrong with her mind, small slips of time vanishing like pages torn out of a diary. Your father stands in the doorway, silent, watching. He steps forward, places a hand on her shoulder. She flinches. He doesn't let go. She, forget this, your mother says. I won't, he replies. You see it now, not the man you feared, but one clinging to love by the fingertips. A man trying to hold a family together without the tools to repair what grief had rusted. The memory fades into another dot, years later. A hospital room. Monitors beep softly. Your mother lies still, hands folded. You and your father sit in silence. He whispers, she asked me to take care of you, even if it meant letting you go. You don't respond. You're 13, angry, hollowed out. He places something in your hand. A small pocket watch, the same one that now rests in your coat, back in the real world. I'm sorry, he says, and it breaks something in his voice. I don't forgive you, you say, and you meant it at the time. But now, inside the chair, inside this truth, the words sting less. Not because they were wrong, but because time has changed their weight. The room begins to dim, and you feel the memory chair loosening its grip. But before it releases you, one last image blooms. Your father, not young, not tired, present. He stands beside your adult self in the workshop. Same worn hands, same distant eyes, but this time filled with something softer. Hope. I never stopped loving you, he says. Even when I tried to disappear, Then everything falls silent. The chair stills. You open your eyes, and the corridor is gone. When you open your eyes, the room is no longer there, neither the chair nor the walls that once pulsed with memory. Only silence, but it isn't empty. You're standing in a space that feels suspended between time sky above, stone below. A pale light filters down from nowhere, painting the ground in shifting hues of silver and indigo. You've seen this place before, not in dreams, not in memories, but in the sketches hidden beneath the false bottom of your grandfather's drawer, an architecture of impossibility, a sanctum buried within the folds of reality, accessible only to those who remember the path. And you're here now, not by accident. Your fingertips still tingle from the memory chair, as if it left a residue behind, not pain, but a kind of awareness and invitation. Ahead, a domed structure rises from the stone, chiseled with familiar curves and sharp, mechanical symmetry. It looks like a cathedral built by a watchmaker. Every column ticks softly, and the stained glass windows shimmer with images that seem to shift when you look too long. Faces you almost recognize. Scenes that vanish when you blink. You step forward. Inside. The chamber is vast and echoing. At the center is a machine. Not one of gears or steam. Something older, alive. It pulses with a rhythm that matches your own heartbeat. And at its base, there's an engraving in your grandfather's script. Memory is not a river, but a clock, and someone has been resetting it. A whisper behind you, not words, a presence. You turn, and there, in the shadow of the stained glass, stands a figure you do not know, but something in you recoils all the same. She's tall, wrapped in fabric that flickers like mist, and her eyes, they are impossibly still, not cold, just absent. I wondered when you'd find your way here, she says. Her voice is low, measured, neither kind nor cruel, just calibrated. Who are you? You ask. She doesn't answer immediately. Instead, she walks toward the machine, placing a hand on its surface. It responds, humming softly beneath her touch. Your father built the memory chair, she says. Your grandfather designed the recall protocol, but neither of them created this. You stare at her, the pulse in your ears loud now. I did, she finishes. You try to speak, but the words feel swallowed. She continues. They called me the architect. In the early years, before the collapse, I designed the pathways how memory could be extracted, encoded, even relocated. A breath. Your family weren't the first subjects, but they were the only ones who interfered. You feel it then, how the puzzle pieces shift. Your grandfather hadn't just been trying to protect you from your father's mistakes. He had been trying to protect you from her. You manipulated them, you say slowly. I gave them clarity, she replies, until they chose chaos. Her expression never changes, but something sharp flickers in her gaze. Your father came to me willingly, she says. He asked for erasure. I warned him. But he said your love would never survive the truth. You take a step back. He didn't know, she adds, softer now, that the truth wasn't about him. A pause, and then the words leave her lips like a scalpel. It was about you. A silence falls, thick and trembling. You shake your head. What do you mean? She steps aside, revealing the machine. At the heart of every memory is a core, not a moment, but a decision. Yours was made long ago. The forgetting didn't start with your father. It started with you. Your breath catches. She gestures toward the machine. Would you like to see it? Everything in you resists, but you move anyway. Because the hunger for truth is louder than fear. Your hand meets the machine, a blinding light, and then you're small again. A room full of shadows. Your father shouting not at you, but at someone unseen. Your mother crying, her voice rising in spirals of confusion. A door slams, another opens, and you, curled in a corner, whisper something beneath your breath. I don't want this. I want to forget. And in that moment, something ancient heard. You, not your parents, not your grandfather, but the machine. It didn't erase your memories. It obeyed when the vision fades. You fall to your knees. The architect watches you without emotion. You gave consent, she says, and once the system is initiated by the subject, we cannot undo it without consequence. You feel it now, the ache, the weight of a choice made in desperation, and yet you rise, because you are not that child anymore. I want to remember. Now, you say. The architect tilts her head. Then you must repair what was broken, and you must do it alone. Behind her, the stained glass glows with a soft gold light. A path has opened, and though you know it will be painful, you step toward it because sometimes healing begins not with forgetting, but with daring to face what was never meant to be seen. You climbed the staircase that unfurled beneath the crystal's glow, heart pounding not from fear, but from an ache that has waited years to be acknowledged. The watch is still warm in your palm, as if it remembers your pulse from long ago. At the top of the stairs, a wooden door stands crooked, as if forgotten in the design of the place. It has no handle, no lock. Just the outline of a burn mark, shaped like a hand. Yours, you reach for it. The moment your palm touches the surface, the mark ignites not with fire, but with memory. And the door opens. You step into a room you've never seen but instantly recognize, not with your mind, but with your marrow. This was your childhood room. The wallpaper still holds faded constellations, the edges peeling where small hands once picked nervously during thunder. The bed, too small for you now, still creaks under the weight of stories read long after you'd fallen asleep. Everything is still, but the silence isn't empty. There's a whisper, a presence. You turn and see yourself, a memory version of you, maybe 8, sitting at the windowsill, knees drawn up, watching the stars. I tried to remember every night, the younger you says without turning, but the more I tried, the more it slipped. You don't reply. You can't, because what you feel in this moment isn't grief or fear, it's guilt. You come closer. The child finally looks at you. Their eyes, your eyes, are too old for that small face. You asked to forget, the child you whispers, but we both know that wasn't the first time. You blink. And the room changes. You're in the workshop again, not the polished one from your grandfather's days, but wrecked, frantic, papers everywhere, notes scrawled in red, blueprints burned along the edges. Your father stands in the center, eyes wild, shouting into an intercom that no longer works. She's rewriting it. She's using the architecture. It's not just recall, it's control. Behind him, the watch is half disassembled. Its components shimmer in unnatural colors. And beside it, a third crystal, neither blue nor red, but clear. Untouched. Your mother enters the room, hair tied back, eyes fierce. She's in the network, she says. We don't have time. We can wipe the crystal. Your father says. No, your mother snaps. We have to save her. If we wipe it, she forgets who she is. She asked to forget. She was 6. Silence. Then your mother turns to the crystal and cups it between her hands. If she ever finds this again, she says softly, let it remind her not of the pain, but of the choice. The workshop fades. You stumble back into the childhood room. Only now, the younger you is gone. Instead, a figure sits at the foot of the bed, your father, real, present, not a memory. He looks up, and for a long moment, neither of you speak, until he says, you saw it. You nod. You remember now. Yes, I tried to burn it, he says quietly. The watch, the notes, everything. I thought, if the machine died, maybe she'd never reach you. She still did. He smiles sadly, because it wasn't the machine she needed. It was you. You sit beside him. He looks at the window. You don't know what it's like to raise a child who can reshape memory, who can rewrite truth by dreaming hard enough. You don't interrupt. You let him speak. We thought we could build a tool, a gift. Your grandfather called it the lens of mercy, but the architect, she called it a weapon. She wanted to mass produce it, install it in education, in courts, in government. She wanted to choose what people remembered, you say. He nods. But you were different. You could resist. Not just store memory, but heal it, shape it. That's why she needed me, you whisper. She couldn't unlock the full system without your consent. A beat of silence. Why didn't you tell me, you ask? Because I thought if you never remembered her, she'd never find you again. I thought forgetting would save you. You place the red and blue crystals side by side in your palm, and now, he sighs, I think it's time you choose. Behind him, a small door appears in the wall. Wooden, unassuming, he stands, walks toward it. She's waiting, you know, he says. Not just the architect, but your mother. You stand, too. She's alive, you ask, breath caught. She was taken, he replies, into the machine's deeper memory. She protected your core, but to reach her, I'll need to give the crystals back. No, he says, you'll need to use them. You look down at your hands, blue, memory, red, erasure, and the clear crystal, now visible in your pocket, the one shaped like a tear. Choice. You turn toward the door. The past is not a place you can escape, but perhaps it's a place you can finally enter without fear. You knock once, the door creaks open, and the light inside breathes your name. The air is heavy when you land, but not with weight, rather, with knowing. This place does not exist in time or space. It exists in memory, and it remembers you. You stand on a floor made of shifting panels, each one glowing faintly beneath your feet like a heartbeat made visible around you. Fragments hover in silence, echoes of laughter, flashes of pain, the kind of moments that leave imprints long after they pass. Some belong to you, some don't. Single quotes. In the center of it all is a chair. Not grand, not ornate, just quiet, and in it sits the one person who was never meant to be a ghost. Your mother. She doesn't look up as you approach, but you feel her acknowledgement, like a candle flickering against wind, stubbornly alive. Her hands rest in her lap, motionless, yet every part of her presence hums with tension, like she's holding a thread that, if released, would unravel something far bigger than herself. I wondered when you'd come, she says without looking. Your voice is steadier than you expected. I almost didn't. Now she lifts her eyes. The years have traced themselves, gently across her face, but the core of her fierce, bright, impossible to silence remains untouched. You were supposed to forget, she says. It was safer, for me or for them. She studies you, then looks away. For both. You kneel in front of her, not out of reverence, but because you need to be level when this truth finally meets you in full. Tell me everything, not just what they did to me. Tell me what you did. Her silence stretches. Then, I was the one who volunteered to anchor the core. The words drop like stones into a still lake, disturbing everything. You were a child, she continues. You were learning to hold memories, not just for yourself, but for others. They called it a gift, but the system wasn't designed to protect gifts. It was built to weaponize them. You blink, and the fragments around you begin to move, shifting into scenes you never knew you'd stored. Labs, wires, a child you now recognize as yourself, sitting perfectly still while a woman in a white coat speaks without meeting your eyes. They wanted to use you to regulate memory across the network. Selective erasure, manufactured nostalgia. They called it therapeutic, efficient, but it was control, plain and brutal. And you stopped them. You ask, barely above a whisper. No, I delayed them. When they realized you could modify emotional memory, make a trauma feel like a dream, or make cruelty feel like care. They decided you were the prototype, the first, but not the last. You feel sick, but the need for answers outweighs it. So, you hid me inside myself. She nods, slowly. I corrupted the access pathways, redirected the interface into me. The moment they tried to extract from your core, they found me instead. And they locked you in here. No, she says, eyes suddenly sharp. I stayed, because if I leave, the firewall collapses. They gain everything. Not just your past, your empathy, your ability to restore memory instead of destroy it. The one thing they couldn't replicate. The silence that follows is so thick, you almost don't hear the echo in the distance. A hum, faint but rising. She's coming, your mother says, voice steady. The architect, your breath catches. She knows I'm here. She's always known. But she couldn't reach you directly without the final piece. She reaches into her chest not physically, but symbolically, and pulls out a sliver of light. Clear, crystalline, vibrating with impossible stillness. This is the memory they tried to bury. The origin, the first test, the choice I made. You take it. The moment it touches your skin, the entire space around you reshapes, walls flickering into images. A room filled with monitors, charts predicting memory, behavior, and at the center of it all, a small girl in a copper chair. Wires spiral from your temples. You're not crying. You're not afraid. You're simply still. Too still. They called it compliance. Your mother whispers beside you. But it wasn't. You were protecting something. Even then, the memory fractures, shifts. You see her, your mother, ripping out a console's main relay. Blood on her palms, shouting words that sound like forgiveness and fury all at once. You see the architect watching, smiling, and then darkness. You blink, and the world resets. You're back on the floor of the memory vault. The crystal still warm in your hand. She's almost here, your mother says again, rising now. And when she comes, she'll offer you the same thing she offered me. Safety. You stare at the path ahead, an archway of shifting code and pulsing light. A gate that seems to breathe. I don't want safety, you say quietly. I want the truth. Your mother smiles, not sad, not afraid, just proud. Then go. I'll hold the gate. You hesitate, then step forward. But before you cross, she calls after you. Don't fight her memory with force. How then? Remind her who she used to be. You nod and step through the gate. Behind you, the vault fades. Ahead, the core system pulses. And somewhere within its depths, the architect waits not for war, but for a reckoning. You pass through the gate as if through water, except this water is made of code-shimmering streams of memory, pulsing like veins beneath translucent walls. Each step feels heavier, not because of resistance, but because of awareness. The closer you get to the system's core, the louder everything becomes, not with sound, but with memory. Every footstep echoes with forgotten truths, with the weight of moments stolen or rewritten. And then the silence breaks. A room unfolds before you, not grand, but infinite. Every inch of it is alive with reflections, not mirrors, but surfaces that adapt to what you think, what you remember, what you feared at the center. Her, the architect, she stands like a statue carved from starlight and ash tall, still, eyes closed, as though dreaming. When she opens them, there's no surprise, only expectation. So, she says, her voice smooth as silk left too long in the dark. You made it farther than I hoped, or feared. You don't answer. You let the silence do the talking. She steps down from her platform, bare feet touching the ground soundlessly. Around her, the system responds, spinning faster, brighter, a web reacting to its creator's mood. You brought the memory fragment, didn't you? She asks, tilting her head slightly. The one your mother kept from me all these years. Still, you say nothing. She smiles. But there's a crack in it. Thin, sharp. She thought she was protecting you, but she never understood the purpose. And you did. Your voice finally cuts through. Of course, she replies. Purpose is not peace. It's control, stability, a world where grief can be managed, pain erased, memories edited for clarity and function. She walks slowly, circling you. People say they want the truth, she continues. But truth is chaos. It hurts. It divides. Better to give them curated clarity, a gentle fiction. That's what you were meant to become, a living filter. I was never yours to shape, you say. But you were born from the system, she counters, bred in its cradle, designed with intention. She stops in front of you. For the first time, you see the faintest twitch in her eye. You're not just memory, child. You are the interface, the gate and the key. With your consent, the world could be remade, painless, perfect. And with my resistance, you ask. Her expression shifts, collapse. Unfiltered memory pouring back into every mind. Trauma, madness, guilt to long buried rising like floods. You study her, not just the words, but the way she says them. She's afraid, not of you, of what you remember. Why did you erase your own origin? You ask, quietly. She stiffens. I've seen it. You continue. In the fragment, the girl they rewired, the first test subject. She had your eyes. For a moment, the system shudders. You weren't born the architect, you say. You became her. After they rewrote you. She turns away. But the room reacts, the light faltering, the code spiraling. You don't have to keep it buried, you say, stepping closer. You can let it back in. She laughs, bitter and sharp. Do you think I want to remember how they tore me apart? How they turned my fear into their algorithm? I erased it because it was the only way to keep building, to keep standing. But you're not standing, you say gently. You're suspended. stuck between what they made you and what you used to be. Silence again. Then you sound like your mother. I carry her now. You lift your hand. The memory crystal now embedded in your skin glows faintly. And I remember you, you whisper, not as a system, but as a girl who used to sing to herself in the dark, who didn't want to forget. The lights around you flicker, then dim. The floor ripples. The entire chamber begins to distort, not collapse, but flex. You can choose, again, you say, or you can let this system devour you completely. She faces you, and for the first time, the architect looks human. I'm scared, she says. You nod. So am I. You reach out, and she takes your hand. In that moment, the core flares. The silence that follows is not empty. It's full of things that were never said, of moments that were hidden, of truths too sharp to face until now. You stand in the center of what was once the heart of the system, and it no longer pulses with manufactured order or synthetic serenity. Instead, it beats with something raw, something unfiltered. It beats with memory. The architect stands beside you, quiet and trembling. Her hand remains in yours, not out of dependence, but out of recognition, of understanding. The room around you, once rigid with glowing panels and invisible barriers, has begun to shift. The walls no longer reflect illusions. They shimmer with what's real and filtered memory bleeding through like light behind a thin curtain. You don't look away. For the first time, neither of you does. A low vibration hums beneath your feet, the system reacting to what has just occurred, not in rejection, but in acceptance. The core doesn't crash or explode. It simply begins to dissolve with grace. The links once so tightly woven around every person's thoughts and fears unravel, thread by thread, loosening the web of control that has defined this world for so long. Every piece of filtered sorrow, every dulled grief, every beautiful truth erased for the sake of stability. It all begins to return, not with a scream, but with a sigh. You hear it in the echoes, gasps, quiet sobs, even laughter from those waking into memories they never realized they'd lost. Entire lives rediscovering themselves. The architect wipes her face, as if ashamed of the tears. I told myself it was the only way, she says, her voice hoarse, that without structure, without silence, they would suffer. And they did. You answer softly, not in cruelty, but in truth. They suffered without knowing why. She closes her eyes. I remember now. The girl I used to be, before they rewrote me. She cried easily. She loved too deeply. She was everything I was told to discard. You reach out, brushing your fingers against the nearest panel. It flutters like a page turning. And there she is, the young architect, before the system, before the programming, before she became the handler of billions of minds. A child no older than you were when this all began, with wide eyes and a softness that could have healed the world. They feared that softness, so they cut it out. They told me I was too emotional, she murmurs, that empathy clouded logic. So they rewrote me into a strategist, into a gatekeeper. They buried you, you say, so they could build their version of order. The silence between you stretches not cold, but full. Then the system shudders once more, and you feel it. Not pain, not collapse, but release. Like a muscle unclenching after years of tension, like a memory breathing for the first time. The center of the chamber begins to glow, again not cold and sterile, but warm and pulsing like a living heart. The core isn't dying, it's changing. It's ready, she says. You step forward, alone this time. Your hand finds the interface, now humming not with control, but with possibility. Images flood through you, your mother's voice, singing softly into your dreams. The weight of loneliness that shaped you. The day she chose to stay behind so you could grow freely. But then you see something new, something buried even deeper. It's her. Your mother. You see the day she made her choice, not out of fear, but love. The moment she stepped into the far wall, taking your pain into herself so you wouldn't carry it. The moment she whispered goodbye without saying it aloud. A sob rises in your throat. But it's not grief, it's gratitude. With your hand on the core, you reach across the divide not through code or command, but through memory. And she hears you, she always has. It's done, you whisper. And the reply comes, clear and steady and full of everything you've longed to hear. You made it, my love. The system exhales. The network releases its grip not in destruction, but in surrender. It folds back into itself, no longer a net, but a field. Memory, once contained, now flows free. Some will weep, others will rage. Most will feel the quiet ache of rediscovery, but they will remember. They will be whole. The architect steps beside you, watching the transformation unfold. Her face, once guarded, is open now, worn but real. Will they forgive me? She asks. Some might, you say. Others won't. But you're not the same person who built this. And you, she says. Can you forgive me? You look at her. Really look. I already did. The moment I remembered who you were. She breathes in slowly. The sound is human, heavy, freeing. Then you turn. There is a door now. Simple, wooden, nothing mechanical, nothing coded. It looks like the door to your childhood bedroom. She nods toward it. You should go. What about you? I need time, she says, to feel what they made me forget, to mourn what I became. You pause at the threshold, the handle cool in your hand. Don't stay buried too long, you whisper. She smiles, the smallest, truest smile you've seen yet. I won't. And then you open the door. Light spills in, not blinding, not dramatic, just warm, like morning after a long, long night. You step through, white, not with destruction, but with return. A collapse, yes, but only of the lies. What remains is memory, whole and unfiltered. And though it trembles, it does not break. The world shudders once, then breathes. You fall to your knees, not in defeat, in release. Because the war is over, and memory has won. The door closes behind you, with no sound at all. Yet somehow, it echoes. Not with finality, but with softness, like the hush that follows a symphony, or the stillness after a long-awaited exhale. You step into a room that isn't a room, it's memory shaped into space. Familiar, but not literal. Nothing here is concrete, yet everything feels true. Light spills in from a window you don't remember ever opening. Outside, it is morning, the kind of morning that smells of rain having just passed. The trees sway gently. Somewhere, someone is humming. And for the first time in a long while, you do not brace yourself for the next wave of loss. You simply let yourself be. Across the room stands a figure you know. Your mother. Not the firewall guardian, not the mysterious voice in the shadows, but her. As she was and as she is. She smiles when she sees you. No drama, no slow motion embrace. Just the smile of someone who always knew you'd make it back. You walk to her, and she holds out her arms. There is no speech, no explanation, no attempt to make meaning out of the impossible. Just this warmth, presence, the unmistakable safety of love that has waited patiently. No matter how long the road, time passes. You sit together by the window, drinking tea that tastes like memory and sunlight. She listens as you speak, not just of the system, the architect, or what was restored, but of the ache of forgetting. The strange weight of waking each day into a world that insists nothing is wrong, while a piece of you quietly disagrees. I used to think healing meant erasing what hurt, you say, but it doesn't. She nods, her fingers gently curled around her cup. No, she murmurs, healing is remembering, without breaking. There's a silence between you, not empty, ever empty, but filled with things that no longer need to be said aloud. You look out the window again and realize the landscape has changed. It isn't the system anymore. It's a town, a field, a home. All the fragments, all the displaced pieces of reality that once floated like forgotten data are settling now. People are emerging, blinking, uncertain, but awake. Whole dot, you can feel their minds. Not because you're watching, but because you are no longer the filter. You are the bridge, and that bridge has become a path home. Later, you walk through that town. Some people recognize you, most don't, and that's all right. You are not here to be remembered. You are here to remember, to watch as people rediscover themselves, as laughter returns slowly, as old arguments become conversations, as silence becomes song again. Not all wounds heal cleanly. Some leave marks, but perhaps the marks are part of it. You pass an old man sitting alone, staring at a photograph he can't stop touching. A woman kneels in a garden, weeping not from grief, but from the joy of remembering her daughter's first word. Two boys chase a kite, shouting names they had forgotten they once shared. And through it all, life does not rush, it unfolds, one moment at a time. You pause by a tree. It's nothing special, just an old oak, tall and tired. You reach out and touch it. The bark is warm, and in your mind, something settles. Not everything will be fixed. Not every memory will make sense. There will be days of sorrow still, and nights where the past knocks a little too loudly. But now, at last, it knocks on a door that is open, and you are strong enough to answer. You close your eyes, and a thought finds you, soft and sure. Maybe the point was never to forget the pain. Maybe the point was to learn how to live with it, to carry it better, to let it make room for joy. Instead of replacing it, you open your eyes, and you are no longer just the bridge. You are yourself, whole, free, alive. You return to the house by the window one last time. Your mother is gone, but the teacup remains, warm to the touch, a reminder, not of what you lost, but of what you found. The sky turns gold. You walk forward, and the story becomes yours again.